to it and shoot for the sky.
Since 1993, Monday Night Raw has been the flagship show for WWE. It has been responsible for a lot of WWE's greatest moments, returns, segments, and matches. It has aired on USA Network, Spike TV, and now Netflix. It brings the drama and excitement, the shock and awe. It's one of the longest episodic TV shows in history. Without Raw, there is no SmackDown or other weekly shows. Raw was the show to help WWE stand out. And during the 90s, when WCW Nitro and WWE Raw competed for ratings and what's known as the famous Monday Night War. Sure, in its earlier years, it was fighting to survive. But once WWE and Raw took the lead, there was no looking back. And although other wrestling companies have tried their hands on Monday nights, WWE Raw has always been the last one standing and has claimed its place on Monday nights. So in this list, we take a look at 10 classic Monday Night Raw matches. Let's dive into it. Number 1. The Undertaker vs. Jeff Hardy. WWE Undisputed Championship Ladder Match. Raw, July 1st, 2002. In the main event on Raw in July 2002, Jeff Hardy got his first ever WWE title match. But it wouldn't be an easy bout as he faced off against The Undertaker. Jeff would have a little luck as it was his type of match, and that was a ladder match. Jeff would put up maybe the hardest fight in his career up to that date and would not quit. Undertaker would eventually beat Jeff down and threw him off the ladder to be able to reach the title and retain the gold. And after the match, Jeff would grab a live microphone and tell Undertaker that he wasn't finished yet and had more fight in him. As Undertaker came back to the ring ready to punish Jeff even more, the dead man realized in that moment that Jeff had heart, and he would shake Jeff's hand and raise it as a sign of respect. Jeff may not have won the WWE title on this night, but he did win Undertaker's respect, and that is just as big as winning the title, maybe bigger. Number 2, Roman Reigns vs. Solo Sikoa, tribal combat match for the Ula Fala and tribal chief recognition. Raw Netflix debut, January 6th, 2025. After losing his WWE Undisputed Universal Championship to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40, Solo Sikoa didn't take it light and decided in Roman's absence that he would take over the Bloodline. He'd kick out Paul Heyman and Jimmy Uso and bring into the fold Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa. And Solo later proclaimed to be the new tribal chief. But at SummerSlam 2024, Roman returned and would feud with Solo for almost half a year. WWE announced Raw would be going to Netflix on January 6th in 2025, and WWE would make matches, segments, and WWE Legends appearances to make the show as big as it could be. And one thing WWE did to make sure fans watched was announce the match we all knew we'd see eventually. Roman and Solo fought in tribal combat, and in this Anything Goes war, they would fight for the right to be called the Tribal Chief. They both would go all out, and it was an action-packed match with the Usos, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Solo's Bloodline, and Cody Rhodes all coming out to defend, and even the score for their respective allies for the time being. In the end, after a brawl and all-out war of a match, Roman would earn his Ula Fala back and once again became the tribal chief of his family and their WWE. Number 3, John Cena vs. CM Punk, WWE Championship WrestleMania 29, number 1 contenders match. Raw, February 25th, 2013. It's 2013, and The Rock is WWE Champion. John Cena is Royal Rumble winner, and CM Punk wants his rematch. So Cena and Punk decided to fight it out in the main event of this February episode of Raw. With the main event of WrestleMania on the line and heavy stakes, Punk and Cena put on one of the best Raw matches in a long time, up to that date, and in history period. At this point, Cena hadn't defeated Punk in 4 or 5 years, in one-on-one competition. Punk, up to this point, had beaten Cena multiple times on pay-per-view and in high-priced WWE title matches. But on this night, one man would find himself facing The Rock in the WrestleMania 29 main event for the WWE Championship, and the other would slowly see his road to WrestleMania fade in the distance. Cena would pull out the victory, and we'd get Cena versus Rock 2 at WrestleMania 29. Punk would later, in the next up-and-coming weeks, challenge The Undertaker to a match at Mania, and eventually, after making it very personal with the Dead Man, thus getting the match officially accepted. This match would set two different paths for WrestleMania 29. One with Rock and Cena for the WWE title, and the other was Punk and Undertaker with Taker's WrestleMania streak on the line. This match between Cena and Punk was legendary, and it really impressed how important WrestleMania that year was. This match to this day is still talked about as one of WWE and Raw's best matches of all time, and if you watched it live, you understand why. Number 4. Eddie Guerrero versus Triple H, WWE Championship match. Raw, March 22nd, 2004. It was Monday Night Raw, and it was the WWE Draft Lottery. Wrestlers were drafted from one show to another. This specific draft didn't have too many big trades, but there were a small handful that was strong picks for both Raw and SmackDown. One in particular was Triple H. Triple H was drafted to SmackDown and without his Evolution teammates. He was shocked and angry and threw a fit. But Paul Heyman, who was the general manager of SmackDown at the time, didn't waste any time with his new draft pick. And the main event for this episode of Raw was set. Eddie Guerrero would defend his WWE Championship against SmackDown's new superstar, Triple H. This was huge because it wasn't too often that Eddie and Triple H squared off. This was a match you could sell on pay-per-view, or even WrestleMania for that matter. And we were getting this on free TV. But as good as the match could have been, and as good as a match that we got, it wouldn't last long. Before the match could result in a winner, Raw and SmackDown stars would flood out to the ring and ringside and brawl. With a sea of red and blue shirts fighting outside of the ring, it was a crazy ending to Raw. Sure, we didn't get the match and ending we were hoping for, but the interaction between both men and the brawl that broke out during the match between Raw and SmackDown stars was exciting and fun. It was unpredictable. Some probably figured Evolution would help Triple H win the WWE title and move to SmackDown with him somehow. And some probably thought that it'd end with Eddie retaining the title and Triple H would end back up on Raw. Eddie would retain via disqualification, and Triple H would be traded back to Raw. But this unpredictable ending and all-out brawl to end the match and evening all combined left us with an ending to Raw that was legendary and will always go down as an all-time great and unforgettable ending to the show that rules Monday nights. Number 5, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock versus the NWO. 3-on-2 handicap match. Raw, March 11th, 2002. It was WrestleMania season, and on the road to WrestleMania, it was getting more intense by the week. At WrestleMania 18, Austin was set to face Scott Hall, and The Rock was set to face off against Hollywood Hogan. Both rivalries were heated, and both matches were big marquee bouts for the 18th Mania Extravaganza. But on this episode of Raw in mid-March, two guys who have battled each other numerous times band together to fight the NWO. Usually we saw Austin and Rock battle against one another. But on this evening, they had a common goal, and that was to take out the NWO. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hollywood Hogan, however, had the numbers game on their side and defeated the Rock and Austin duo. They got the momentum on their side for their WrestleMania matches on the horizon, but both Hogan and Hall would be defeated by Rock and Austin respectively at WrestleMania 18. But on this night, they were victorious in a big way. This would be Hogan's first match in over 7 years, and the only time we ever saw Austin and Hogan wrestle in any way, shape, or form in WWE. Number 6, Triple H versus Kane. World Heavyweight Championship versus Mask Match. Raw, June 23rd, 2003. The rivalry between Triple H and Kane was at an all-time high. The segments, promos, and matches were only getting better and better with both, risking everything to get their hands on one another. Kane again and again was unable to dethrone then world champion Triple H of his title, and he wanted another shot. But Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff wouldn't let him just have it for free. Bischoff would grant Kane his world title rematch, but under the condition that if he lost, he would unmask for the first time ever. Kane would accept the challenge. And in Madison Square Garden in New York City on Raw, in June 2003, we got the main event with everything at risk. It was title versus mask. Kane would put up the biggest fight of his career, and although the fans were behind Kane, and for certain he would be victorious, he couldn't get it done on this evening. Triple H would have some help from his Evolution teammates, and would succeed in defeating Kane, forcing him to unmask. Kane would unmask, and for the first time ever, we saw what Kane had looked like under the mask. As soon as he unmasked, he'd attack Rob Van Dam, and thus turn heel, and reveal maybe an even more monster-esque side of him that we never knew existed. But the MSG main event was huge, and led to one of WWE's most viewed episodes and segments in history. Number 7, The Rock vs. Mankind. WWE Championship no disqualification match. Raw, January 4th, 1999. This was the night that changed the course for WWE in the Monday Night War. Raw back at this time WAD taped, and WCW was notorious for exploiting that. In an attempt to get viewers to stay tuned into their product, WCW would spoil WWE's results for the main event of Raw. They would give away the results and tell fans at home that Mick Foley, who was Mankind in the WWE at the time, would be winning the WWE Championship. But what they wanted and what happened were two different outcomes. WCW, up to this point, had beaten WWE in the ratings war for 83 weeks or so. And this tactic led to fans switching channels to see the WWE title main event. Thus, changing the course of the Monday Night War, and WCW would never be able to recover or get back on top in the war. Mankind and The Rock at this time had a great rivalry, and this was a climax moment in that rivalry. With the run-ins and action in the match, it deserved the spotlight. But WCW's petty tactics helped the match get more views, and helped WWE survive and win the war on Monday nights. Number 8, Shawn Michaels vs. John Cena. WrestleMania 23 rematch. Raw, April 23, 2007. At WrestleMania 23, we witnessed an all-time classic between HBK and John Cena. But weeks later in London, England, on an episode of Monday Night Raw, they had their WrestleMania rematch that lasted almost an hour. And although the WWE Championship wasn't on the line in this match, it was better than their WrestleMania match B was. Nowadays, it's rare to see a match take up a whole hour of an episode of Raw or SmackDown. But this was an exception, and rightfully so. These two tore the house down, and Cena may have been victorious at WrestleMania, but on this night, Shawn Michaels was the victor, and no one was complaining. If you want to look back on some of Monday Night Raw's greatest main events, we suggest this is one you check out. Number 9, The Miz vs. Randy Orton. WWE Championship match. The Miz's Money in the Bank cash in. Raw, November 22, 2010. In July 2010, The Miz won the Raw branded Money in the Bank contract. He'd hold on to it for 127 days. On November 22, 2010, Randy Orton fought Wade Barrett in a match on Raw and sustained an attack from the Nexus as well. The Miz would make his way down to the ring after Orton and Barrett's match and take advantage of an injured Viper. Randy would try to fight off Miz, but was too beaten down and hurt to face a fresh and ready Miz. Miz cashed in his Money in the Bank contract and defeated Orton for the WWE Championship. It wasn't hinted or signaled that Miz would cash in his contract, but he did, and it led to fans being angry and shocked all at once. Miz would hold the WWE title for 160 days and would even defeat John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania 27 to retain the championship. Miz would win the Money in the Bank contract again in 2020 and cashed in successfully in 2021 to become WWE Champion too. But it was nowhere as noticeable or iconic as his win and cash in in 2010, 10 years earlier. Number 10, Edge versus Matt Hardy. Loser leaves Raw. Money in the Bank ladder match. Raw, October 3rd, 2005. In real life, Edge and Lita was having an affair behind Matt Hardy's back. It resulted into Matt being fired and escalating outside of WWE in interviews and postings. Matt would even appear at WWE shows and attack Edge and make things even worse. WWE would eventually bring Matt Hardy back and use the real-life drama in a storyline. On October 3rd, WWE returned to the USA Network and held a special episode titled Raw Homecoming. The show had some decent matches, but one that happened was Edge and Matt Hardy fighting to end the rivalry in a match that would be for Edge's Money in the Bank contract, and also the stipulation where the loser would leave Raw and go to SmackDown. The match started out heavy with Lita and Edge attacking Matt during his entrance and do everything in their power to rid Raw of Matt Hardy. Matt would fight with everything he had, but would lose and be forced to leave the red brand and move to the blue show. This was WWE's way of separating the two and keep the drama and tension down. It's 2025 and the two have made up and are close friends again. But back in 2005, it wasn't that easy to forgive and forget. This match marked the end of the rivalry and let both men and Lita move on with their careers and lives. And that was our list. We know there's tons more great matches from Monday Night Raw and would love to hear your favorite Raw match of all time in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow Ring Post Daily Podcast on YouTube and Facebook. Until next time, happy wrestling.